Okay, everybody, 10 Tampa Bay Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins here. Good afternoon, everyone. We're talking Wednesday afternoon now, just after 4 o'clock. We just got the update in from the National Hurricane Center, the latest one on Tropical Storm Nicole, and that's the update. It is still a tropical storm. Now, it's moving through the Bahamas, and it does have about 10 to 12 hours of time before it can strengthen to hurricane force, and they still think that will happen. It's going to be moving across the Gulf Stream, which goes in between the Bahamas and the east coast of Florida, and that's got very warm water in it. So there is some fuel there. Not a whole lot because there's dry air wrapped around it, some cool air in the mix as well too. But bottom line is that 70-mile-per-hour winds now, getting to 75 is not going to be a hard thing to do. So that's going to be an issue. I'm going to be here for a little while, just to let you know. Okay, cool. Let's talk about the storm now. So what you can see here is we actually have that yellow that's shaded in there. That is the wind field. From the Hurricane Center update, it says about 485 miles to the north. I measured that. That's even a little bit more. Just keep in mind, there's a high pressure well up to the north. This started as a low pressure over here. And so you had that pressure gradient in between. So you had some wind there anyways, right? If you've seen any of the video up and down the coast, especially up towards Daytona, there is a lot of coastal erosion and flooding going on there. It's because this wind has been blowing for a long time, for 4 or 5 days now. What's also going to happen is, as this gets closer and does something like this, and then kind of comes up and out, it's going to continue to blow water in that direction, right? And then eventually it's going to turn in that direction coming up the coast. So that is going to be the coastal erosion issue. Here's the forecast track. This line, to me, this actually did nudge a little bit more to the north, but they definitely went further to the west. They take it a little bit further out to the west in the Panhandle and Georgia up towards Alabama a little bit. But as far as we're concerned here in the Tampa area, you can see it's pretty much coming right across over top of Lakeland. Was it 2005? Remember that, Lakeland? You remember that. So you can see now we do have a pretty decent looking eye wall here. Not getting a very good view of the back side of this. And look, there's dry air being wrapped in on the back side. You can clearly see that here, even in the clouds. Look at the clouds falling apart there. Now, let me switch this because we are looking at infrared. We're losing some of the daylight, but you can see there's not a whole lot back behind here, right? See that? That's dry air getting pulled in. So that's going to try and limit this thing as well too, and that's why we're thinking maybe Cat 1 at 75-mile-per-hour winds, but probably not too much more than that. All right, so that's where it's at right now. Here's the latest forecast track from the Hurricane Center, and the timing is good with this too. Look, it's moving to the west at 13 miles per hour, and that trend should continue. So that will get it quickly moving across the area. And so this is midnight, after midnight tonight, making landfall somewhere north of Jupiter. By 1 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow, it's already moving off the coast of Hernando, Citrus County. So our worst weather will be 4 a.m. through about 10 a.m. and then things will be quieting down. And certainly by the late afternoon and evening hours, things will be quieting down. It will fall apart. We do not expect it to maintain any kind of strength in here. Perhaps Cat 1 at landfall, then weakening down to 50-mile-per-hour winds near Hernando and Citrus County. And even if it does brush out here over the Gulf of Mexico, we don't expect any intensification, which is good because at this point right here, the winds will start to blow back onshore, okay? And we'll have some winds doing this. So we're going to get a little bit of surge from it, but it's not a lot because, look, this thing is only going to have 50-mile-per-hour winds at that time. The one issue is that the tight winds that are around the center at 75 here, when this moves onshore and it weakens, these winds spread out. They weaken, but they spread out, and that'll include on the backside too. So that's the reason why we're going to watch for a little bit of surge. Here are the watches and warnings. Charleston all the way down to just about Miami, we have watches. For our neck of the woods here in Tampa, everybody in our neck of the woods is seeing a tropical storm warning in effect. That's the blue that you see there. We do have this surge watch, or surge warning, excuse me. Anclote River, Tarpon Springs, all the way northward, 3 to 5 foot, especially up in this area up in here is what we're thinking now. Now there is the chance that we get about 1 to 3 foot in the bay. This would happen tomorrow midday into the afternoon hours. So the water will actually go down. Water's running 3/4 of a foot below average right now. Hillsborough River is looking pretty low at this point too. That will continue past midnight tonight. So the water levels are going to drop. You know, what we saw in Ian, we saw it in Irma, right? Now we had a lot more wind. but we will see certainly the water drop. Then tomorrow, when the system is sitting up in here, the winds then turn and they're blowing on shore. Okay, and then that's going to help to blow some water back in. That's why we think 3 to 5 up in here, and then about 1 to 3 for Pinellas County and up into the bay. It's not terrible, but this includes places like St. Pete, Old Northeast, Snell Isle, all those areas, right? So keep an eye on that. Now, winds. We've got a site over here in Freeport. The strong part of the eye wall just went through here with 40-mile-per-hour winds and gusts barely to 50. This will strengthen a little bit, maybe 5, 10 mile per hour. I say 5, if that, right? We're not going to, if that's all that they got out here, we're not going to get much here. Like, I can't imagine that we get more than what the Bahamas just got, Grand Bahama just got. But I definitely think we're going to get winds in the 30s. I mean, it's not terrible, 30s and 40s with gusts in the 50s to maybe 60. Okay, that's kind of the forecast. So here is the forecast model. I'll go through this one pretty quickly, but you can see I've put on here the track center line from the Hurricane Center, just so you can kind of get an idea of what the model's thinking versus what they're thinking. And they've come a little further north. This is a little further to the north. Landfall around 2 a.m. This is 7 a.m. Thursday morning, right over Disney, right over Orlando. And then look at all the weather in our neck of the woods. Yeah, Pinellas, Hillsborough, Polk County northward especially, seeing a pretty good amount of rain. 2 to 4 inches is what we're thinking. But look, now we're at 10 a.m. The center's over top of Hernando or Citrus County. And then by 5 in the afternoon, the center's way up here. And look at the rain stopped. I mean, a couple of showers left over, but that's it. So 2 to 4 inches will likely cover it as far as rainfall goes. But having said that, there'll be some spots that do see more. This is Friday evening at 11 o'clock. You can see it's all the way up here, going over West Virginia, the mountains of Virginia, and then western Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh will get some of this. So here we go. This is a closer view of it and the timing. So I want to stop it here at about 4:30 in the morning. I think landfall is a little bit sooner than that. Center is somewhere right in this area here. Now as we go through 6:30 in the morning, look at these heavy rain bands coming through the area, through Lakeland, Sumter County, Citrus, Hernando, Pasco. Again, 6:30 in the morning. Winds in Tampa around northwest at 27. That's sustained. So winds sustained in the 20s, perhaps in the 30s in some of these heavier rain bands, with gusts higher than that. In fact, the gusts will come in those rain bands. All right, but you can see that before the sun comes up, really, the wind's already out of the north, if not the north-northwest. And then by 9:30, the wind's almost west-northwest, but starting to come down. But still, look at the heavy rainfall coming on shore. Now, Sarasota southward, not as much, especially Lee County, Fort Myers area, Port Charlotte. Now, as we go out to about 1 o'clock, here's the center up here somewhere, moving out of our area. Still have this west, even a southwest wind. This is 1 p.m. Not as much wind. The wind is coming down, but that's when we'll start to see a little bit of surge. And with winds at around 20, 25 miles per hour, maybe even 30, not blowing that long, you expect about 1 to 3 foot of surge in there, 1 to 2 foot. So that's not terrible. Now, this is 5 o'clock. Notice the winds down to 20 miles per hour. Still coming on shore, but decreasing as we go through. So literally, we're talking from about 3 in the morning through about 3 in the afternoon, the worst weather coming through the Tampa area. And the worst part of it will mainly, I think, be Tampa, Lakeland, northward, including St. Pete. Okay, now let's take you out to the models. This is our graph model. This is the one that we've been showing you, our futurecast. See, it's just a little bit further to the north now. Again, this line's come up. This is very similar. I think yesterday it was up here, so it's come down just a little bit. This is 2 a.m. Notice the winds in Orlando gusting in near 50 in the 30s. For us, 20s, gusting in the 30s at that time. 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, just after sunrise. 40-mile-per-hour winds in New Orleans. Oh, New Orleans.
Wow. No.
Orlando, 57-mile-per-hour wind gust in Orlando. But you notice, look at Spring Hill. Winds sustained in the 40s with gusts about 60. So when you see 35 to 50-mile-per-hour winds with gusts to mid-60s, that's what I'm talking about, the leading edge of this. This is 7 a.m. on Thursday. So Hillsborough, watch for that. I think it's a better chance for Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus for that. In fact, you can see Tampa has gusts in the 40s just after sunrise tomorrow morning. 11 a.m., gusts still in the 20s, in the 40s, wind in the 20s, but decreasing. Watch this. By about 5, 6 o'clock, winds in the teens, gusts in the 20s, perhaps 1 or 2 left over in the 30s. So things will rapidly improve as we get through Thursday afternoon. This is the European model, just came out. This one, look at this. This is starting to really agree with our Futurecast model. It's a little bit further to the north. The Hurricane Center, and it's about right here, the Hurricane Center's here. The Hurricane Center's been riding this European and GFS line, especially the European because the GFS wasn't always in agreement, for a couple days. So they may come north. I mean, at this point, it's not going to shift too much from where they're at. All right, here are the wind forecasts. And so you can see we've gone 35 to 40 mile per hour, kind of steady winds. I don't think it'll always be steady, but that would be what we'd be looking at with gusts as high as about 60 to 65 miles per hour. Now look, this will put out some power. This will knock down some trees. This will blow some limbs down, that type of stuff. A lot of people aren't going to board up for this. If you're in a particularly bad situation, if you're in a mobile home, you might want to think about evacuating. If you've got particularly trees that are kind of weak near your house or something like that, you might want to think about it, but most areas will be okay. And the hard hit areas down here in the Fort Myers area looking pretty good. Definitely going to get some wind and a little bit of rain, but not a whole lot. So that's good news there. Here are the forecast gusts. And I'm going to take you out. Let's see. Let's go out to tonight at 10 o'clock. Gusts are in the 20s and low 30s. 2 in the morning. Gusts are in the 30s and 40s. So you're going to hear it tonight, right? If it's trash night, I think it is at my house, don't take the trash out because it'll blow over, right? Don't worry about the trash. I would keep it inside. This is 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Look at all these wind gusts now, right? This is like the highest wind in the 40s and 50s for most of our area. 38 in Sarasota, 41 in Venice, but 44 in Tampa, 51 in Land O'Lakes, Wesley Chapel, 53 in Brooksville, 60 in Dade City almost. So tomorrow morning, right around sunrise time frame, we're going to see the most of it. That, by the way, is the eye that you're seeing there, which will be filling in. But you can see all these 50s and 60s gusts from Tampa northward by about 8:30 in the morning. So we'll have special coverage tomorrow on our Bright Side show. You'll be tuning in for that. Then you can see, look, by about 11 o'clock, gusts are down to the 30s and 40s. By 2 o'clock, they're in the 20s and 30s, a couple 40s left along the immediate coast. And by 4 o'clock, they're down into the 20s with some 30s left over. Timing of the winds, obviously, will be coming in overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. Flood watch is in effect for the area. This is mainly to cover the rivers, but you do want to watch some of the rivers that are up north. Anclote will fill up certainly by Friday into Saturday as well, too. This is the rainfall totals. Obviously, the highest totals are going to be in this area right in here, right? The center goes something like this. The highest rain is going to be just to the north of the center, and then there's actually going to be a little batch on the south end here. Get that out of the way. That's what you're seeing here. This is the north end of the eye. This is the back end wrapping around, coming in like this. And that's tomorrow morning. Okay, so bottom line, it's about 2 to 4 inches of rainfall, but some areas could see a little bit more than that. All right, timing. Then I got to let you go here. This is what we're looking at for the timing. Again, I just went through it hour by hour, but this time frame is after midnight tonight, say about 3 in the morning through about 3 in the afternoon tomorrow. That 12-hour period, we'll see most of the weather come through. Things will get better after that. Keep in mind this surge that actually goes down 1 to 3 feet through just about sunrise. Right at or just after sunrise, the wind will turn northwest and west, and that will start to bring the water back in. 1 to 3 in the bay, 3 to 5 on the Nature Coast, especially up towards the Crystal River area. Crystal River, folks, which is pretty typical for you, but the north side of the Crystal River, west of downtown, that side tends to flood anyways, but that's where I'd expect to see a little bit more in the way of flooding. Got it, guys? All right, so tune in. We're going to have the 5 o'clock show. You're going to see me try and fit all of that into 3.5 or 4 minutes, which is not going to happen. So that's the reason why I'm glad you were able to follow us here on Facebook and YouTube. Don't forget my pages as well, too. My YouTube page, Bobby Deskins Weather, and Facebook, Bobby Deskins Weather. All of the 10 Tampa Bay pages are YouTube. We have the streaming app as well. Don't forget, download our app. It's absolutely free. But it's got the radar on there. You can watch the shows. You can get videos of our updates. So great thing to have. One spot to go. Just poke around in there. You'll find it all. And the radar is really cool. Plus the radar has Future Radar on there, which I really like. Okay, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on TV at about 5 o'clock.